personally one of my first interviews. It's the Incubator interview. So grab, a glass of wine, grab some tequila, maybe grab some CBD. Here,
Hey,
there she is.
I am here. Hold on, let me turn the sound up.
Yeah, I'm turning my sound up as well. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. This feels very official.
It's the Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you're part of it now.
I feel like you're like the TikTok version of Diane Sawyer, maybe Oprah, maybe mixed with a little CNBC. Like it's happening.
So if everybody watching, if you look under your chair, you're going to see a Kush Queen complimentary gift. We're handing out gifts to everybody who's in the audience today.
You get gummies.
Yeah,
it looks
everybody
like
gets gummies. I actually have them right handed.
I
was telling them I have the whole spread.
You look a little baked. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not gonna say. You saw my Instagram poll.
Yeah, well, the people voted and they voted do the interview on an edible. I mean, the truth is that I prefer to enjoy cannabis and other molecules before interviews. I really think it's the secret to my success. And then I can look back and I can say, "Oh, when I did that panel, I did this." But I'm one of those people who cannabis is a performance enhancing drug for me as opposed to getting too stony. So it's,
exactly.
Everybody's different.
Well, so, I mean, with that, I think it's for everybody who's on this live, we have Olivia Alexander. She is the CEO of Kush Queen. And when I'm saying her products hit different, I know it firsthand. These are some quality products. We had spoken a couple Sundays ago, and within 2 days, I had a gift bag box at my front door. The shipping was amazing, and I was truly impressed with the product. And we have her here today. We're going to be asking her a bunch of questions, and I'm excited to have her on the first Incubator interview.
Yeah, well, I'm in the Incubator. I need to announce that I'm there. I'm there to learn about crypto, but I'm definitely so excited about what you're building. And I think that it's much needed. I love TikTok. I love this community. I love learning about crypto, obviously being an entrepreneur, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. And I think that the ability to share information and support each other and grow is so important, especially in entrepreneurship. I definitely have been an entrepreneur most of my life, and it can be kind of a lonely road. So I just want to say first, I'm in the Incubator. Props to you for starting it. And I'm really excited to get in there, and hopefully I can help share knowledge on e-commerce and some of the things that I really know about, but also learn from you young guns on crypto and how to get those big money bags.
Well, we're learning from each other. Now, so you've been an entrepreneur almost all of your life. Now, what brought you, give us the intro. How did Kush Queen get born?
Ooh, it's a really long story. I mean, when I was 18, I got my first job at a dispensary in California. It was long before legalization. It's something what we refer to as gray area medical. And that was the moment that I knew this was going to be big. I knew that every single day I worked at the dispensary, the one thing that happened was that absolutely very few people were actually there that were like the stoners. And it was kind of like everyone was there. And I thought, wow, this is really going to be something big. And back then I thought, because I was an actress, that I would make content about cannabis, that I wanted to make a movie called Kush Queen, which was going to be Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, but about girls who sold weed, which is like so dumb. But that's what I thought it would be. It wasn't many, many years later, in about 2012, 2013, that I started a company called the Crystal Cult. I made Swarovski crystal bling vape pens and accessories. And I called the one that you could use weed in Kush Queen. And I had Kush Queen t-shirts. I had things that said, it's 420 somewhere, high maintenance. And using Instagram and social media, I connected with tons and tons of people who felt just like me, sort of ignored by the culture and didn't really feel that they fit into that experience. And then
Mhm.
because of the way that I built the company on social media, I started Crystal Cult with $600, no, $700,
So
and I
how
made
old are you when,
six.
if I don't want to, no, not right now, not right now,
Don't
not right
ask a
now.
lady
When
her
you
age.
started, when you started Crystal Cult, because you've been doing this for a while, and how old were you when you first started?
I started Crystal Cult and I was in my mid 20s. I'll say that. I was in my mid 20s. I was young. And I had not, I like literally had no clue.
Hmm.
I knew it was a great idea. And then basically in a week span of wanting to start Crystal Cult, I got some press. I got on the glamour.com beauty blog for my nail art. A bunch of people started DMing me and trying to buy the vape pens from me. And then other people, a guy who owned a store down the street from me, he wanted to buy some. And I had been manifesting and really meditating on wanting to start my own business. I was really
Hmm.
unhappy with the entertainment industry and where it was going. And it was just kind of like that aha moment where it all came together. And then I just built the big commerce store myself and hit the ground running. And I think within 6 months, I had about 50,000 followers on Instagram. Miley Cyrus tweeted wearing my glasses. I just had a lot of like true organic support, mainly because I was just like putting myself out there. And then it really snowballed. The more I shared my real lifestyle using cannabis,
Hmm.
the more people reacted to it. And then I really got into the industry. I mean, I had been in the industry. I had obviously sold weed in college, like a lot of people do. And it was really getting into the industry that sort of gave me the confidence and the knowledge to make my own products and really make Kush Queen my thing. I did
Hmm.
very well with my marketing agency. I did very well being an influencer, but it wasn't really my truest passion. My truest passion was making products. And so it was really in 2015 when I got deleted by Instagram. Different story, different day.
Well, so we'll get
Um,
into, I guess we can get into that in a little bit. Now, rewinding just a touch. So you're creating Crystal Cult, right? And now you have Miley Cyrus posting your product. Was that like your like, oh shit, this is what I'm doing moment? Or what was your moment where you're like, all right, I'm officially like, this is what I'm doing?
Honestly, when I could pay my bills, I did not give a shit about celebrities. I did not care. Sure, it helps. Sure,
Hmm.
having notable people helping and supporting you, getting in magazines, getting the press to notice you. I mean, there was a very pivotal moment when my product was on live with Michael and Kelly, the morning show that used to be like live with Regis and Kelly.
Hmm.
And we did like $50,000 in sales in like a day. And that really felt like, oh, I made it. But I was really just a girl trying to make money without having to work for someone else. That was really it. And so as
Hmm.
soon as I could pay my bills with doing this, I was like, well, I made it. I don't care what anyone says. I made it.
That was, so was this your side hustle, or this was what you were doing?
No, this was it. I mean, I really had nothing else going on. And there was a period that I kept acting for like a year, and then one
Hmm.
day I was like shooting a movie on like a crazy low budget. I was making no money, and my mom, my brother, and my best friend were at home working for the business, and we had some massive day of sales. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna like really hang it up with acting and really just be an entrepreneur. But I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My grandmother owned businesses, and it's really
Hmm.
in my blood. And it's really something that I I've learned that I have a natural skill for. Not everyone does, but it's definitely it was definitely a journey though into like building a team, getting more employees, that sort of thing.
Hmm. So when you're starting this initial business, were you a one woman show? Like, were you doing everything from creating the product to advertising to answering calls in the middle of the night because, you know, something didn't ship? Like, what did you have? What pieces did you have around you?
I was and I wasn't. I was kind of one of those people who just exploited their family for free labor.
Of course, we're all there.
My mom and my brother are incredible artisans. They've been making stuff since pretty much I was a kid, and they really helped make the product. And I basically cleaned the products, I packaged them, I did the customer service, I answered the phone. We have a really good joke at Kush Queen that if you've ever talked to Jessica, it's me. Because I just did it all, you know, and I think
So,
I would shoot the content. Obviously, when the business started to grow with the physically, like the making of the items, I couldn't do that.
of course.
But I pretty much did everything else for a long time. And then when we started Kush Queen, that got out of hand incredibly fast. And I had a team pretty much within 6 months of that really becoming full-time. I had sold CBD through Crystal Cult. I sold bath bombs. I sold very like early editions of the products as Crystal Cult. And then it was really in 2015, I took all the knowledge I had gained in the industry about the products, about how ineffective they were, about essentially just like sort of all of the little sciencey things that people don't know that you wouldn't know unless you really work with the plant. At this point, I had grown. I had been able to learn how to extract. I really am the kind of person who I just like, I want to know how to do every job. And so that really is where just like we opened up Pandora's box and my life was kind of never the same after that.
Now, so when you were Jessica, I have to just, I'm picturing this in my mind, right? I'm calling the Crystal Cult and I hear Jessica on the other line. Are you ruffling some papers? Are you pretending to be the receptionist? And then you go get,
well,
are you like, do you have a Jessica voice versus like an Olivia voice? Like, how do I hear the Jessica voice?
That's really funny. Okay. So I think in customer service, this is fun. This is hilarious. I think that if you use a high pitched voice, people are nicer to you, or if you like sound, you know, I would say kind of dumb. And so Jessica, she was kind of just like, I just answer the phone sort of thing. But it's just really funny because she definitely would be like, hi, thank you for calling Crystal Cult. How can I help you? You know, it was like this fake voice, but you know, I would definitely try to give people good customer service, and then people would say, wow, you really know a lot about this company. But it was the good old days.
So now you're Crystal Cult. It's 2015. Things are looking awesome. You have about 3 million followers, and then overnight you get them taken away from you. What was that like?
Not really overnight. I mean, overnight is when it was like, oh my gosh, it's over for me. But at this point, I really had a strong influencer business. I got paid by brands. I had a creative agency. I worked with cannabis companies. I made content. I did the whole thing. And then I started having problems with my content being removed, and then people reporting my pages. They kept getting deleted and then being brought back and then deleted again and then brought back again. And then we started paying people at Instagram to help us. And those people got caught, and then they kicked us off the platform. And I sold a bunch of my other pages and took the little bit of money I had and said, it's Kush Queen all the way. And it was like one of those really defining moments in life where it's the worst thing you could ever think that could happen to you, instantaneously being the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. So that's really the morsel for everyone who is an aspiring entrepreneur.
Right.
It's just like your house could literally be burning. It could be on fire, and you can turn that into an opportunity. And that is what I did. And I'm very, very grateful to the people who also had been my clients, who supported Kush Queen and my journey as an entrepreneur, because there was a lot of people who I called in my favors then. Let's just say that.
Right, right. Well, because people have those moments, right? And I imagine it personally, right? So I'm growing this platform on TikTok. If tomorrow TikTok decided to ban me, you'd have to start from square one. But I guess from what you're like, you don't really have an option. You just got to keep going.
In that moment, I did think about starting my pages over. And I think, like, hindsight, maybe I should have just immediately recreated the pages and kept going. But
Hmm.
there's just a whole nother side to being an entrepreneur that isn't really talked about a lot. And it's like the emotional space that you're living in, and the struggle of it, and the
Right.
bumps, and the day in, day out constant bullshit. And
Yeah.
so at that moment, also, you have to understand that it's 2015 and we know legalization is coming. Legalization in California, it didn't just pop up. There were a lot of people working on legalization for a long period of time.
Hmm.
And I also knew that the CBD market would open up. I had a friend at the time, and I heard he was making $100,000 a month selling CBD online. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. I just got to get to sell CBD online,
Hmm.
which is not that simple, of course, but it really, that was also it, is that I kind of looked at the time and where we were with legalization and progress, and I thought, this is really the only way I'll ever sneak in, because we knew that most of the laws and the regulations would really foster big businesses and not small businesses. And
Hmm.
so it was really kind of do or die. But I'm kind of one of those sick people, and I really believe in challenges and the scarcity being something that is such a magical form of capital that no
Hmm.
one talks about, you know?
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned it, but like it's kind of these big business industry. And I want to ask you about, first, I want to get into kind of Kush Queen and the where we are today, because we've kind of gone to the like how you got to the defining moment. But now I do want to talk about this, a little teaser, but how you guys are still private and everyone else is taking money from people. Um, and
Yeah. Well, so I reimagined the products. I did some crazy guerrilla marketing. Like, I started the Kush Queen crowning program, and
mhm,
I crowned girls that followed us on social media, Kush Queens. I gave them 50% off to my shop, and there was about 1,000 plus women mainly in the crowning program, and they helped me build the brand. And I literally used zero marketing dollars. And then little by little, it was just this really magical time in my life that I'll never forget. It was one day we were like, we got to get out of this garage and we've got to get into a warehouse. I found a warehouse that would let us operate there, which in 2015, 2016, you couldn't tell a landlord, like, oh, I'm making cannabis and CBD bath bombs here. I mean, even though I
mhm.
found one who was cool with it. And then one month we had one warehouse, another month we had two, within 6 months we had three. About a year after that, Urban Outfitters called. Then in 2017, there was a really pivotal moment for Kush Queen, and it's when a nail salon chain called Bella Cures um, invited us to do a collaboration on something called the Canicure. And we offered manicures and pedicures in the salons with the Kush Queen products, and it went absolutely viral. And it was only supposed to be 300 services that we were going to do for media. And to this day, it's the best selling service at Bella Cures, outside of just a regular mani and pedi, because CBD and cannabinoids in a manicure and pedicure actually create deeper relaxation. You have huge pores on the bottom of your feet that actually absorb the essential oils and cannabinoids. And
I might,
women, we get manicures and pedicures regularly for most of our lives. And when you get one with the products, it's like, this is not a normal
yeah.
mani pedi. So that really just blew us up in a way in the press that took our business just on a
So
rocket
that
ship
was
to
in
Mars.
so that was in 2017. So there was that was like the blow up or the glow up, so to speak. And then what or what now you started this the thing that really interests me, and a couple people in the chat were like, that's a phenomenal idea. You had these like Kush Queen almost ambassadors. So now these people were kind of some of your like biggest fans, so to speak. You know, and then how did you set that up? Because that seems like a perfect way, because it's really your fans. And honestly, as I'm growing as an entrepreneur, this just sounds like an interesting idea.
Yeah, so we really needed to get people out there talking about Kush Queen. I really am an old school marketer, and I believe that the greatest form of marketing is actually word of mouth. It isn't digital, it isn't anything. It's just getting people to fall in love with what you do or who you are, and then literally they talk about it every single day. That's what's built Kush Queen. That's why we don't have all of these investors running our company. And so the crowning program was actually born from the Instagram community. It was called the Kush Queens then. And I just was looking to post people who openly shared their cannabis consumption. At this point, consuming cannabis publicly, especially posting about it on Instagram, was still very controversial. And a lot of people told me when I started posting my glamorous smoking shots and all of my beautiful content, like, you're ruining your life. You're never going to get a job anywhere. You're literally going to have pictures of you smoking weed on the internet. And I was like, okay, sure. But we knew that there were tons of people who wanted access to our social media, who wanted to get posted. And we knew that if we offered them a discount on the products and then the merch and really built a community, that it would be a better foundation than going out and raising capital at the time. We just were, I'm really truly, like, I believe so passionately in bootstrapping. And I think it's just because I had worked at enough cannabis companies and at enough startups to see that you may get money to start your company, but you lose control immediately. It's very hard to negotiate with people who are going to fund you and say, but at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I want. It's just not how it works. And so we were really more focused on building a community and then building more effective products, and products that people didn't expect, you know, because no one was trying to make a bath bomb then.
Right. So the people not respect. We have people in my chat just saying, yes, Queen. They're loving you. Everybody, make sure to go follow her and check out Kush Queen products. So just to set the room there. But now people were kind of, you talked about nobody was posting on social media, right? So if you were posting on social media with smoking weed or something, there was a negative connotation around that. Was there a point where it became like, you were like a drug dealer, drug user to like a businesswoman?
Yeah, I will say there was a pivotal moment in 2018 as cannabis became legal in California, and then you had the Farm Bill, which was passed, and the Farm Bill really legalized hemp. And so we kind of had this perfect storm of the laws catching up, and then our successful business. We really saw the press fall in love with our brand and me, and that really changed everything. I think behind the scenes, I've always been treated like a drug dealer because I'm dealing with banks and I'm dealing with institutions, and it doesn't matter what we do, it's still federally illegal to people, and it's still
Right.
stigmatized. There's always going to be an elephant in the room with cannabis, which is a social justice issue, which just is the cold hard truth that they've put millions of predominantly Black and brown people behind bars for doing the same thing I do every single day. And so that's just an element to it. But once the Canacure blew up and we were on like the news, and then in 2019 we got approached actually by Alice and Olivia, a $300 million a year fashion brand, and they said, we want to make you guys to make our CBD products, and we want to do this whole thing with you. And I got to go to New York Fashion Week. The LA Times wrote an entire like profile on me, which was on the cover of the Saturday section. And that was just another moment where I kind of felt like I was finally accepted and seen as the boss bitch that I am, as opposed
Right.
to, you know, just a person selling weed, if you will.
Hmm. Yeah. The whole process and the legalization, and you got to wonder if they eventually will just make it legal federally, like when, and if, I guess when that does happen, because I think it is a matter of when rather than if. So when that does happen, how do you think that'll affect Kush Queen? Um, and do you think now you'll be able to get into banks? What do you think that'll change, if anything?
Well, the good news is that things are changing and there's a lot of progress behind the scenes. About the beginning of 2020, I not only got taken in by a really great bank, but they put me in their commercial. And I really got to be the poster child of this is the way that we build the future. And I get to work with them hand in hand every single day. And it really like, oh, I don't want to get emotional, but it really changed my life for them to
That's
sit down
fine.
with
That's
me
what the incubator is about.
and say, like, I've never in my life, like, I was so scared. Like, I literally have people who work for me who, you know, knew me when I carried around a backpack full of money and I had a cash counter. And I would, you know, that it was a cash business. And then here I am sitting down with a bank and they're like, what do you want? Like, how do we support your dream? And I was like, my dream? Wait, I have what? And being able to bank, especially as a cannabis company and a CBD company, I don't think people could really understand how much time and energy, how dangerous it is. And then on top of it, how much money you kind of lose in a cash business. The whole
Mhm.
cash side of it is by design, and it also hinders progress. It hinders businesses' abilities to get loans, and that's
Mhm.
also what has ushered in such a massive institutional funding and VCs into the whole space, CBD and cannabis. And I really think that it's just so corny, but banking changed my life, you know, like it really did. And being able to be seen in that moment as an entrepreneur and also get to have these really intimate conversations with the CEO of the bank, with the people who are calling the shots,
Mhm.
educating them on the molecules, educating them on the products, and then also building a framework for what is a good operator and what is a bad operator. Because don't get me wrong, there's bad eggs in everything. You know, there are people
Right.
who are doing bad things even in the legal markets. But for me, I've always felt like a responsibility, not just to the people who paid with their lives, you know, the people who are in prison. I've always been very, very vocal about the war on drugs. I've always been very vocal about the state of the industry and about these
Mhm.
things that I face, because there's this sort of smoke and mirrors, and people see you in the LA Times and they
Right.
see you at New York Fashion Week and they think like, oh, you made it, you must have everything. And it's like, I do, but there was a period where I was being shut down every other week for my merchant processing. I
Right.
went to BeautyCon the summer of 2019, and I spent a lot of my business's money to go out to BeautyCon because this was the first time they were going to let a CBD company in,
Hmm.
and I took this huge risk. The best part about it, I had no way to process credit cards until 8 p.m. at night before BeautyCon started the next day. Square called at 8 p.m. and they said, "You're
Square.
approved, you're approved." And
I
I'm
love me
like,
some
"Oh
Square.
my God, we got to," because how else were we going to take credit cards at our booth? We weren't.
So
We
you
were.
were just, you said, I'm investing in this. I'm taking a risk. We don't have credit cards yet, but we're sure as hell gonna get the credit card. And now it's 7:50, right? You get the call at 8 p.m. What's going on in your mind? It's 7:50, 7:55 p.m. You just spent a lot of your business's money and you haven't gotten credit cards yet. What's going on in your head there?
Well, more than that, it had been like a summer of shutdowns. Like Elevon, this is a very famous credit card processing company, had decided to shut down all CBD processing over the summer. So it was like this wild summer, and I was just white knuckling it. And I'm just one of those people who almost like the bigger the risk, the more danger, the more like I don't want to say I want it, because at the same time I was going to BeautyCon because of the audience. I go
Mhm.
to spaces and places that are not cannabis spaces. I grew up going to the cannabis cups. I grew up in this industry. I love cannabis. But the way that we're going to change the stigma, the way that we're going to grow businesses, and the way that you stay out of the lane of the big guys is to go care about everyone else. And BeautyCon is my people. And so I just knew in my gut that we were going to go out there, we were going to be well received. We had a hot
Mhm.
booth. We brought in some real weed plants, and they were like, "Are those?" We're like, "It's hemp." And I just at about 7:50, I might have been thinking like, "What the fuck?" But it's just in that moment that Square called, and they literally said this to my team. They said, "We've never had people who were more persistent." And we're like, "Well, we're going to BeautyCon. We need to process credit cards at our booth."
Mhm.
And we just like immediately changed over our website so we could be processing with Square. And then we got out there, and that weekend we were on Access Hollywood. We hung out with Tess Holiday. We had over 7,000 people come to the booth. And we really were well received by the beauty community. And that just really was another moment that I'm like, what?
Now I have to ask. So
Oh,
you've had all of this trouble, right? You finally got the bank. You finally got a credit card processing company. Now, obviously, I like crypto. How much easier would your life have been if this was entirely a decentralized kind of banking system and there wasn't kind of any of this red tape around it?
this is why I'm getting into crypto. This is why I believe in crypto. This is why I started following you. This is why I really believe in the entire the future being decentralized. Honestly, I think that it is crazy even to this day how long and how slow and how archaic the banking system is. I mean, I love my bank, and one of the reasons that they changed my mind about the future of banking and the future of what crypto and blockchain could be is that for the first time I had a fully um, digital banking experience. So I've never been to a branch. Even as a business owner getting very large checks, I would have to walk these checks into a branch and do the whole thing to deposit them. I don't have time for that. I have
Hmm.
this entire tool at my fingertips, and it's all done digitally. And this bank luckily is they have a very forward thinking CEO and CMO. They're very young. And then I had sat in a talk about blockchain and really started to understand blockchain from a supply chain standpoint. And then obviously, like, it takes money so long to move,
Hmm.
and the world is moving faster than the banking system. So I think it's sort of a no-brainer, and I couldn't imagine my life with, crypto and that this all of this decentralized finance at my fingertips. Like I can't even imagine it. It blows my mind, but
Hmm.
it's why crypto is the future.
Hmm.
I
Because of
mean,
all the, yeah.
duh.
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir. It's like, oh yeah, hell yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen it firsthand. I've worked with a Bitcoin ATM company for over 3 years now, and they have a problem getting banking. And that's because it's in the crypto sphere. You had a problem getting banking because you're in the CBD, the cannabis industry, and it's like, who is making these rules in terms of what is good and what is bad? Um, and I think the idea of decentralization just will help people for this exact reason.
Yeah, and I've also faced in my experiences as an entrepreneur the past like 7, 8 years, I faced a lot of unfairness. I
Hmm.
faced a lot of, well, why do they get to do that and I don't? Why is it that this company gets to run these ads and gets to have a bank account, but I don't. And I think, unfortunately, what happens with these big institutions is they favor other institutions. And I think that we just had a complete imbalance of power. And I really also believe in, the future being decentralized so we can have a chance, the younger generations as well. I think that, you know, the powers that be, I know for cannabis, a lot of why the banking is an issue. Of course, they say money laundering and all of these same things they say about crypto, but it's really big pharma. It's really the alcohol industry, the tobacco industry. And it's because you and I and all the people listening have a system inside of our body called the endocannabinoid system. It's conveniently left out of science class, and it's different because people will say, oh, well, you have opioid receptors in your body. No. Those bind to the receptors. This endocannabinoid system, it is a system. It's regulating our most important body functions: sleep, mood, appetite, and all of these things we know about cannabis is that the more cannabis you use, the less alcohol you drink. The more cannabis you use, the less pharmaceuticals you use. And obviously, most people who are cannabis consumers don't use tobacco. And we're threatening to disrupt the biggest industries who hold the most power in government. And the way that they keep their power is through banking. And so it was reported that when the CBD processing industry had its big shutdowns, it was because big pharma said, we're going to move our money if you don't shut these people down. And it's just like to think, our industry, maybe it'll be 25 billion by 2025. It's still very small. We're still emerging. There's still so much to discover, uncover, innovate. And it's funny because they're scared now. And I think that that's also the same thing with crypto.
They go
Unfortunately, we meet at these big shifts in culture. We're coming up on another one. I think it's another quantum leap for technology, for entrepreneurship, and hopefully will give our younger generations the opportunity to really create wealth and live a life of passion. And because that's really what it is for me. Like, I get the boss bitch thing, and yes, I make a lot of money, and I live a way better life than I had before. But at the same time, I don't have a person at Kush Queen who makes less than $15 an hour. Why? Because that's inhumane. I literally believe that you can create the business and the life that you want. And if anyone can take anything from me, it's that. It's that I bet on myself. I bet on my vision and the products and just the belief that I could do it. And it's less about making money and it's more about finding passion and living in that, because it's a huge form of capital that I had. I'm like, how did I make it? Like, I had packaging from Kinko's. Like, it wasn't Liddy, but it was because at the end of the day, when I put my head down on my pillow, I ran my business with integrity. I treated the people who work for me and the customers like my family, because they are. And then I wake up every day, and no matter how hard it is, I'm doing what I love. And that is literally a vibration. It's so much higher than a seed round. I mean, maybe not, but I like to say.
So I think so. Kush Queen has been able to, you mentioned it. Everybody who's working there is at least making a living wage of $15 an hour. And you've been able to sell these products, and you've been able to create a successful business. Now, how is Kush Queen able to stay private without raising money when all these other big players, they're taking all this money in and they have all this funding? What's different about Kush Queen?
Well, number one, I'm holding on to my power. And the truth is that I've been approached by the biggest cannabis companies in the world to be bought. And they would love nothing more than to take what I have built, put me on a salary, fund every last wish and desire that I have. but at the end of the day, I would be working for them. And that's pretty
Mhm.
much like almost all the deals. I mean, sure, we're going to explore some future funding, and I think that funding is good, but I've just always been one of those people who doesn't believe that you should raise before you know if you have a demand for your product. And I just like kept looking around the industry, and a lot of my friends, they were doing huge rounds. People were raising, you know, 3 to 5 million just for seed. And then they're moving. Some of my competitors are in like series C whatever. And I'm like, what? We haven't even gone federal. We don't even know what's going to happen with CBD. What happens next? And I think that was also it, is that there are so many people in this space, and they are here just for a short time, and they have very, very, very short goals, and most of them are older, and they're just trying to make as much money as possible as quick as possible.
Mhm.
That is the polar opposite of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build Kush Queen to be the cover girl of cannabis. I'm trying to be Estee Lauder. I'm trying to build a multi-billion-dollar company, sure, but over the course of probably 25, 30 years. I'm here for a long time, not a good time.
Yeah,
And
you're
that's the key. I think that's what it is that I've always been trying to build something that I could protect the
Mhm.
products. There's a lot of white labeling that's done, other people making products. I have a real factory, it's cranking. We make the products from scratch by hand. And that's also part of it, is the only way to protect my dream is to take the road less traveled, self
Mhm.
fund, only spend what I have, and you have to create the actual demand for the product. And that is what everyone isn't doing in the CBD and cannabis space. They are unbelievably funded. They have unbelievably midsy product. I don't know if you know what mids are, but it's very not good. You don't want mids, okay? That's not what you want.
This is a CBD, or this with a mid what is like
Mids can be cannabis, it can be CBD, but a lot of the CBD products are ineffective. That's the problem, and it's because a lot of them don't actually have how much CBD is on the label.
okay.
That it's literally not in the product. There's also archaic approaches to cannabis science. We've done a
Mhm.
lot of innovating at Kush Queen with our nanotechnology, now with minor cannabinoids. And at the end of the day, it's also that a lot of the CEOs don't use cannabis, and there's been a lot
Right.
of them on the cover of Forbes saying that. And I actually started using cannabis at 18. I've been using it ever since for my mental health. I am diagnosed bipolar. It's a part of my journey. I don't hide it. And
Mhm.
I choose to use alternative medicine to treat my disorder. And through that, I think I've made just the most effective products, and I've sought a deep understanding of the science and how to scale it. I think that's another thing, is
Mhm.
you can make great products, but good luck trying to make 400,000 bath bombs in a year.
Right. Easier said
Scale,
than done.
it changes things. And I think a lot of the
Mhm.
big companies are just pushing out mids products, low product
Just
they
to get
don't
it out.
care about, just with great marketing and fancy packaging, and that is not
Mhm.
enough.
Right. And then at least for me, like so I've used CBD products before, and you know, I've used them and then I haven't gone back to them. And this isn't just because you're on this interview. I DM'd you right after I used it. I used the Kush Queen's product. I use it, and I of course I had a couple of gummies, but this I came back to it. I'm gonna have one after this interview, and I think it's just a testament to kind of the product and exactly what you're saying, that like these other companies, they have the big money, they have like all these different things to just throw into advertising and everything, but like that'll get you X amount of clicks, but recurring customers is what makes a difference.
Well, the other thing with it that I think is the most interesting, that I think I've really been trying to educate people on, is that they do all of this marketing, okay? And they spend so much money in a marketing budget to do it, to get eyeballs and to reach customers. And then they require the customers to pay for that marketing in a sense. And like this 420, we had our biggest sales day ever in the history of Kush Queen, and we chose to
Mhm.
do zero marketing. But what we
Mhm.
did do was we gave our customers 1 day to get 50% off the products. And I don't see why these companies don't value their customers and that experience more than anything. I think that's another thing, is just we really are here to not disrupt everything, but throw all this shit out the window, because just because you need a marketing budget of $2 million doesn't mean you have to have it, you know?
Right.
And I just think that it would be great, you know, people who work for me know I want a billboard and I want to be on it. I want my head to be the
Yeah.
size of like a football field, and I want it to be on La Cienega Boulevard, and I want billboards. But you know what? We don't have billboards. We've had a couple, but it's because it's got to be about the products. It's got to be about the
Mhm.
people that use them, and there's so many creative ways to build an audience and to create more effective products. It's just my best advice is don't look at what other people are doing
Right.
in a sense. I mean, you need to know where the market is, but don't
But you have your
follow.
vision.
I don't follow. I lead. You know, I am the first person right now in the US to be selling a THCV product. It's a new molecule. It's an appetite suppressant and not a stimulant. And it does a lot for focus. And there's actual medical research on the molecule. And I'm just like looking around. I'm like, what? No one's selling this? I'm really the only one? Me? But it's literally a constant at Kush Queen. And it does take more work, don't get me wrong. You know,
Mhm.
you got to educate people, you've got to do the education, but it's worth it.
Now so I think like part of why you're so awesome is like you embody the Kush Queen. I know it's the name of the company, but like you're also kind of like, I'm the Kush Queen over here. You got it tatted on your arm. That's pretty awesome.
When I reached my first sales goal, I got the Kush Queen tattoo.
Oh,
And
I didn't know you had that. You're pulling it out. I'm like, oh, that's like Kush Queen. I love it. I love it.
it's really on there. And I got this because look, it is not easy. There's people asking me in my comments. It's weird that we can't see each other's
Yeah,
conversation.
honestly, it'd be cool if it was like all one kind of like super
I
live.
It's so weird. It's just so weird. But they're asking me about, challenges. And the biggest thing is that when I started this company, I really thought like, I'm going to be the Kush Queen. People are going to take my picture. I'm going to wear cape suits. I'm going to be on the cover of Forbes. Like I thought about all of these like very artificial things.
Hmm.
And then I got into the reality of being an entrepreneur, and it was pretty unglamorous and it was very hard. And then being thrown around in the years of the industry emerging, I had
Hmm.
some really dark times and some really challenging times. And when I achieved that first goal of making $1 million in a year, that was because I also believe set small goals. Don't start a business and say I got to make $10 million this year. Set realistic goals.
Hmm.
I had started with nothing, and I thought if I could just get from 0 to 1 million in sales, that's got to be something.
Well,
And when I did that,
I'm sure a million wasn't your first goal though.
no, no, of course not. But
Yeah.
that was a big goal for us,
Right.
and
I mean,
I
obviously, yeah.
I needed something to remind me every single day that
Uh-huh.
this is you in your struggles, in your darkest times. This is what you built. This is who you are. And sometimes you just need a reminder. And I just decided to tattoo mine on my body. Also, a lot of people used to steal my photos, and I would smoke joints a lot in the photos when I was, big on the Instagram,
Hmm.
and they would not tag me. And I was like, watermarking the shit out of my photos, and they were still not tagging me. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna
There
just
it
have it on
is.
my fucking arm, and then they can't say we didn't know it was you. So yeah, I
Hmm.
it's not good when you're trying to travel to foreign countries. Like, you gotta definitely. I mean, I have a bunch of weed
Kush
tattoos
Queen, right?
actually.
Yeah. let's look at this, let's look at her. Let's check her bags.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like wearing long sleeves, going to Mexico. People are like, why are you sweating in the airport? I'm like, because you can't walk through security with Kush Queen on your arm. This was the dumbest idea ever, but also the best.
Something that me personally, like, I juggle with, and like, it's really just like owning it. I'm trying to grow my brand, and it's like the mac and cheesy brand, whatever. And like, you're the Kush Queen, was that a million, like, where you just said, screw this, like, I don't care anymore, I'm the Kush Queen?
No, I just always had that vibe about me, if I'm being really honest. I grew up in LA. I know this plant, and being I would be Kush Queen whether or not I had the brand or not. This is what I love. This is who I am. People know, if you know me, the number one thing people would probably say if you went back and talked to people who knew me in college and high school, they would say, "Oh yeah, that chick is a stoner." And that's just my vibe. So, it's really all, I think there was a period where I didn't want to be the Kush Queen. I will admit that. I think that I had a period where I was like, I want to be a CEO. I want to be taken seriously. I want to be this, this, and this. And I remember I stopped posting me smoking. I definitely started wearing business suits, which is just like, what the fuck am I wearing?
I can't imagine you doing
I'm
that.
5'2". I'm drowning in a suit, trying to be serious. But I very quickly realized that I'm never going to be successful being anything other than myself. And if you can take anything from me, the people listening, it's that radical authenticity is not just some buzzword. It's genuinely how you live the best life, and you have the best business, and you build the best communities, and you make the most money. It is saying, all I'm going to do is wake up and be me. And I'm going to believe that people are going to be attracted to that, because that's unfortunately the problem with our world. It doesn't say be who you are, you'll be successful. It says go to this college and go get this job and you'll be successful. But it's really, I don't want to say it's all a lie, but it's just, you have to just stand in who you are and be brave enough to share it with people, and know that people will support you and that people will be drawn to that, because that's, in my opinion, the only way to be as successful as we all want to be. It just requires this certain level of bravery that no one talks about. And it gets easier, it gets easier. But at the same time, even with TikTok, when TikTok started, everyone said you have to get on TikTok. And I was like, I'm not getting on TikTok. I can't. I'm running this company. I'm doing all these things. I'm like, when am I gonna have time to do TikTok? And then of course,
and here we are.
You get broken down, and then you join this app, and you're like, I'm literally just unbrushed teeth, my hair's on my head, and I'm just saying some shit. And I have a great community of people who come and hang out with me regularly. And also a ton of people have discovered Kush Queen because they never heard of Kush Queen, because TikTok is a weird, it's a weird black hole of people who aren't on a lot of social media apps. So it's been interesting for me. And I thought oh my God, are people going to think I'm crazy? Are people going to think I've lost it because I'm on TikTok, doing all these videos and things?
But it's you. That's
it's who I am. If you hung out with me, I would be like, this TikTok.
So, you first reached out to me on TikTok, right? And then we started talking there. And when I saw your TikTok's completely different than your Instagram. So I obviously didn't know you from anybody else in the world. And I'm looking at your profile, and I'm like, okay, who is that? And then I go to your Instagram, I'm like, oh wow. And then I look at Kush Queen, and then I'm like, this is, you said the term radical, authenticity, and that's what it is. And I think because wouldn't have thought that you were kind of this CEO, boss bitch, whatever we want to call it. but it's just
It
that
was
radical
kind of an accident.
authenticity.
I shouldn't act like it was like all intentional, like it wasn't. TikTok is notoriously conservative, and
Hmm.
the algorithm is so sophisticated that it really does suppress cannabis content. It really does suppress the word CBD. It really does suppress these terms. And along with using cannabis, I use psychedelics. I'm very passionate about the psychedelics industry. Another thing that I talk about, obviously, with Kush Queen over the years of my Instagram is my mental health. And so I started making content more about my mental health issues and my depression and all the things that I was going through. And then in this one TikTok, I mentioned microdosing, and it like blew up. And then I basically shared on TikTok, like kind of an idiot, that I use LSD regularly to treat my mental health and to help enhance my performance. I use a lot of psychedelics. And it basically created this whole other life for me on TikTok, but it's been really cathartic and very good because it's really important that people understand that being a boss, being a business owner, that's what I
Hmm.
do. That is not who I am. And I think that
Right.
on TikTok, people get to see this other side of me. And I really am just, I guess, an attention goof like everyone else here on TikTok. And
Right.
I think that this is a really great app and community. And I do think that because of the conversation around mental health here, there's just, I've never seen people talking about mental health the way people were talking about it on TikTok.
Hmm.
I thought, let me just be myself and make content that isn't gonna be like the stuff on Instagram. It's like just really funny because I guess it's called code switching when you go from being like in a suit to then being like, I'm kind of a hippie, so kind of like that.
Uh-huh.
But it's the reality is like being a really developed person, you have all these sides of you. Like, I don't believe that you're just like one way. I think that we
Right.
have all of these sides to us. And I think that because I am on all these social media apps, there's just all of these different sides to me that people see. But I do wonder sometimes, I'm like, I'm very serious. Like, I'm very serious and I have a career. I always am like, I got to go do
Right.
my
You
day
have
job.
different. Well, TikTok's awesome because it's so raw, and it's like people might not see it, like it's not like your Instagram feed or something. And like part of the beauty of TikTok is part of like the downside, which is like, it's hard, not everyone sees the posts, but I think it tends to lead to, you can just be a little more raw.
I think it also helps so you don't focus on the numbers as much, at least personally.
Hmm.
That's a big thing, because I've had a lot of experience in social media. I think that people should never focus on the numbers. I mean, sure, we all want to grow and no one wants to be making content to zero people. But I think that there is a certain element of it too, that the algorithm puts you sometimes like on parts of TikTok that they're not your people.
Right.
And that's been really good for me because I do say polarizing things and I do give hot takes a lot.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens because it's definitely this app is crazy.
It is crazy. And yeah, I'm juggling with it. I'm trying to explore different things now.
You're
um
blowing up. I already called this. I called it, and I just want it to be known that I've called it.
yeah.
I am a um I am a real mac and cheesy fan. And I think what you're doing is amazing. And I think that I was just really drawn to your content. I mean, your pink beanie too, but that's
Right.
obvious.
I mean,
Like
we don't have to stress on that. Everyone can agree on that.
the one thing everyone agrees on is the pink beanie.
That's what's keeping this country together is this pink beanie. I actually I need to find another one because if I lose this one, I'm basically, I don't even know if I'm gonna be a person anymore at this point.
Pink beanie or we riot. Like
Right.
that's it.
Right.
Like,
I,
so
I
don't lose it.
yeah, I can't. I can't. I have a question. So you had touched on it, like microdosing, And I think so I read about like biohacks all the time. Like I do Wim Hof breathing in the morning. I do cold showers. I do, I can go on about, I do butter coffee. I fast till 1 p.m. every day. I do all these life hacks. Now, I've heard microdosing is the next life hack. So should I start microdosing?
I mean, look, I think everyone should try it. There's not a lot of side effects and there's not a lot of downsides to microdosing. That's why it's different than stimulants or even antidepressants. I personally have found so much benefit. I really do believe that psychedelic use and microdosing specifically causes neurogenesis in the brain. Basically, it causes neurogenesis, which is rebuilding the neurons themselves, making them stronger, making them have more dendrites. And then you have changes in neuroplasticity, which is actually how the neuron travels, which explains why people start microdosing and they change literally these lifelong habits.
Right.
And I also think that I love biohacking. I do cold therapy. I really believe in breath work. I really believe in meditation. I really think that the other side of success, whether it's in crypto, whether it's in business, whatever you're doing, is it has to start in here. That's what the philosophy of Kush Queen is all about. It's that when you really make time for your self-care, when you really feed your endocannabinoid system, you're your best you, and you can actually go out there and do whatever it is you want in life, whether it's make the world a better place, whether it's, be an athlete. You can literally do that, but you can't do that if you're unwell. And I think that the microdosing and the biohacking is very interesting. I'm into some far out shit, like I'm trying to get AI implants. Like I want to go all the way.
You're ready to give Elon Musk your entire brain. You're ready.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do think that we are possibly the generation or the generations that are going to really create longevity in life. And I also think psychedelics are going to be a part of that. Obviously, exercise is incredibly important. The number one thing that people who live to be 100 all have in common: exercise daily. So I think you should start microdosing, but obviously I'm biased, and I'm like, you coach me in crypto, I'll coach you in microdosing, but it's not for everybody. It's not like everything isn't for everybody. That's another thing, but the psilocybin specifically, which is the magic and the magic mushrooms, is that's a really like great.
Psilocybin's like the THC to marijuana, right?
Sort of.
So,
yes.
Sort of. In a dumbed down version for somebody who might have Googled that right before this.
Yes. Psilocybin is what we'll call the active ingredient in magic mushrooms. And then you have LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide, created by Albert Hofmann, actually used in thousands of research studies. It's actually very researched. But unfortunately, people only know one single expression of these molecules. You have all kinds of different substances you can microdose, peyote, mescaline. Like there's all kinds of things happening around the globe with it. And I think psychedelics are just a really interesting industry, interesting molecules. And I think that, that's just another place I'm interested in investment wise. I think what you have is a broken mental health system converging on the opioid epidemic, converging on a pandemic, and you have a really broken healthcare system, and you have these archaic drugs that just don't work for a majority of people. And then we have a massive group of vets, and you have companies doing psychedelic research for PTSD with MDMA. You have companies doing psychedelic research like MindMed, who are going to be specifically working with microdosing. You have Field Trip Health, who are doing these incredible ketamine treatments for people in really safe environments. And then you have Oregon, who just completely said, we're legalizing everything. And I think it's going to be very interesting. And I hope for people that they really find the healing that they need, and people have access to that, because I think that's what's really important. That's why I was willing to start sharing about my psychedelic use, is because
Hmm.
it's the same thing kind of with cannabis over again. Very stigmatized, still very gray area, legal, decriminalized in some places.
Right.
But I feel like the healing that I found and the person that I am because of psychedelics is it's there's no words for it. It's transformative in every way, and all I want for other people is for them to know that these things are out there. It may not be a
Hmm.
good fit for you, it may not work for everyone, but the other side of it is Silicon Valley has been they've been on this. You know, there are a
Well,
lot of
yeah.
people who are biohacking. There are a lot of people using peptides. There are a lot of people using psychedelics, and it's really, it is a performance enhancer. I'm actually on a microdose of LSD right now. I'm not
I
gonna
love
lie.
it. I love it. So we're talking like, so if you rewind a little bit when CBD started kind of blowing up, and like the cannabis industry, when that started got legalized in California, we saw like a bunch of these companies just start coming out of everywhere, like just start popping up all over the place. Um, do you think potentially, like similar to what happened with CBD and cannabis, that there might be a similar movement with psilocybin?
There
Um,
is, yes.
there is.
Yeah, it's already happening. It's happening at a really rapid rate. It's almost, um, it kind of alarms me in a sense. That was one of the reasons that I started sharing the content on TikTok, is just because I'd never seen anything like it other than the old school days when all the brands started popping up. There's
Mm.
beautiful packaging, there's great companies, there's underground groups, there's major FDA trials going on. I mean, some of these are publicly traded companies. What's his name? The Shark Tank guy, Kevin O'Leary. He invested like 25 million into MindMed. It's actually, I don't do stocks. Like, stocks aren't for me, but psychedelic stocks I'm very interested in, because I really want to see those therapeutics proven, and I want to
Mhm.
see the access open up. And it's really interesting. Um, Psychedelics is different than cannabis in a sense that this is not new. And they have known for a long time that there is therapeutic benefit to these molecules. But Ronald Reagan, and he basically fucked everybody. And so you have people like Rick Doblin, who is the founder of MAPS, who has been literally dedicated to proving the therapeutic benefits of psychedelics. And it's really interesting because I've heard him speak, and he said, like, at this point it's all about getting the insurance companies to cover it. And I think that's what's really interesting is, and I think it'll bring a whole nother industry. I'm really, when I did Clubhouse, I listened to a lot of rooms with some really amazing doctors from Stanford and really great practitioners, and they were saying that there's a huge opportunity for young people who want to get clinically trained and work with psychedelics, because what most psychedelic use, especially larger trips, not microdosing, requires is a sitter or a person who's going to guide you through the trip, and
Right.
those people need to be clinically trained. And
So these are two
there's
different things, right? So you have microdosing, and which
small
has its
amounts.
benefit, and then there's a full, let's call it a full dosage, and this is where you're actually tripping, for lack of a better term, and there are medical benefits of this.
Yes, there's a lot of medical benefits to both. I mean, there's a lot of bad press out there right now on microdosing, saying that it's placebo, but the reality is microdosing is best done in your everyday life. It is
Hmm.
best done when you're living your life. It's not going to be done the best in a clinical environment. And then with some of the legal issues, how do you give people
Right.
psilocybin and say take it home? That's just
Yeah.
not how clinical research is done. I mean, I
Right.
wish, but it's not. And so there's some issues there. And then you have, on the other side of it, you have um these larger doses which also have huge benefits. You have people like John Hopkins studying them, and tons of great research being done with MAPS in a number of organizations. And those are more for people with severe disease and issues, some people at the end of their life. And I don't know what you want to divulge about yourself, but I can speak from my own experience that both microdosing and macrodosing has come with immense benefits. It's not to say that I don't want to glamorize this or make people think that it's something that you should, drop some acid and go walk around the Las Vegas Strip. Like
Right.
these are ancient tools. They are portals to other worlds. And the truth is that we know we're only using a small amount of these brains. And I want to use the whole thing. And that's what psychedelics do. They help build these new pathways and these new connections. And then we know that we can only see this universe. We're stuck in this reality. And then we're stuck in these skin bags, and we can't seem to grow back parts of our body like some of these fish and some of these creatures. And I think that it's incredibly important. I always use this analogy. You can break your arm and they don't give you a pill. They give you a cast and they send you home because you heal yourself.
Right.
But why then is there pills for depression and pills for these things? I mean, it's to make money. Sure, some people find benefit, but I think it's about really, truly, oh my God, I'm getting a lot of skin bag comments over here. That was a terrible, I shouldn't have used that. Sorry.
I like skin bag. Honestly, I'm going to use that more. Sometimes, like days where I'm like really just not productive, I'm basically a skin bag. Honestly, I'm mad that I haven't used that term before, me personally.
But basically, we do have the ability to see there are other dimensions. There's portals to other worlds. And these substances can bring people there. They can also bring people to increase performance without, some of the harmful stimulants like Adderall.
Right.
So it'll be really interesting. I'm very excited about the space, and it's a really small space and community, even smaller than cannabis. And they're very welcoming. I think that's been the biggest thing for me is when I went viral essentially with one of my videos, and it was like this moment. I was like, I wonder if these people are going to like dislike me because I'm in weed and now I'm doing this. But it really is a really warm community. That's the funny thing about people who use psychedelics.
Yeah.
Because there's so much empathy, there's so much love, there's so much understanding that they bring you, especially if you use them in the right way. And it's just so far been a really like warm and accepting industry, which is new for me.
I have to ask now, is Kush Queen looking to get into the psilocybin industry, or any plans on that?
Not Kush Queen, but I am going to be working with a number of companies in the space. I am taking equity in a functional mushrooms company called Brighter Days, and they are working on some blends. And then I definitely have some products in development, but my days of being an outlaw are long over.
Right.
And psychedelics for me are more of a hobby. I also, even though I'm bullish, as y'all say,
Right. Bullish,
on
bearish, going
the
to the moon.
big companies, the words, the lingo, I'm getting to know kids. I'm bullish on the big companies, the ones doing the FDA trials, the big guys who are going to get the insurance companies to cover these treatments. But in my own personal experience, the more I use psychedelics, the less I use psychedelics. So that is a very interesting thing that these molecules do. It's not like alcohol where like you drink and you're going to have another drink and maybe 5 and then 10.
Right.
They're not the same. And especially at larger doses, I'll do a trip and then I won't want to touch anything for a long time because you have to make sense of it. That's what it's called, integration. And so I think it'll be interesting to see if a recreational market opens up. But time will tell,
Right. Yeah. It is exciting. And frankly, it interests me. I mean, as I prefaced it with the, I'm all for the body hacks, the life hacks.
Look, all I'm going to say is this. There is a psychedelic and it works by applying it to the skin. So you
Okay.
could literally drop it onto your skin and you'll be tripping balls. So I'm interested in that. I'm interested in, helping people live their best life. And I do think like biohacking, anti-aging, it's another space that really excites me.
hmm
And so we'll see what happens. I definitely think we're going to be the ones to live to at least 200,
I'm fine with that. Now, so we're talking about all the benefits, and kind of one of the things that, at least personally, where I've always been like somewhat hesitant, because I'm like, I've heard stories of the bad trip, right? Um, what are your thoughts on that in terms of like, do you think that has to do with maybe the circumstances, or like,
Yes.
what do you think on that?
Okay, so the one thing that we know about psychedelics, specifically psilocybin, specifically LSD, is
hmm
setting, and intention. Timothy Leary taught us that. And the reality is that people have this idea when it comes to drugs in general called pharmacological determinism. It's something that the anti-drug propaganda taught us. If you take mushrooms, you'll trip and you'll never come back. That's what I heard. If
Honestly, I've
you
heard that
if
too. I
you
still
do
believe it.
cocaine one time, you'll die. You'll be an addict forever. Like this is exactly the kind of drug education I got. And what we have come to learn through science is that pharmacological determinism is a damn lie. And just the molecule itself does not equal the outcome. That's why some people have pleasant experiences with THC, some people have negative experiences. So I think if you're going to go on a larger journey or you want to understand how to have the best experience, you're going to want to have the right setting, and an intention. Your intention could be fun. But I also think that people misuse these substances and they take them at music festivals and raves. And I can't imagine, I can't imagine tripping in public. I do private ceremonies. I do things in my personal space where I'm comfortable. And I think that's why I've had a lot of benefit. I personally do not believe in bad trips. But the reality is that in my experiences, especially with psilocybin, if you haven't seen the documentary Fantastic Fungi, you should watch it. It's a
Putting
documentary
it on
by
my
Paul
to-do list.
Stamets, and he basically is the foremost mycologist, and he really will give you a background and an education on mushrooms and how mushrooms and mycelium they are the connector of the entire planet. They
hmm
create life and they literally make us decay. And mushrooms, especially functional mushrooms like lion's mane, chaga, reishi, if you're trying to biohack, you got to get on functionals right away.
I honestly, I gotta do a lot of work. I might eBay or Silk Road. Where do I get this?
I'll help you out. I always look. The reality is with the content that I make on TikTok, I have attracted, unfortunately, a lot of scammers, just like in the crypto space. People try to
hmm
come and scam my followers and try to scam people. I always tell people, let's not buy drugs on the internet. If you need a healer, if you need recommendations, there is a full spectrum of community out there, from ayahuasca to LSD to psilocybin. There are people who are going to help you. Functional mushrooms, specifically lion's mane, chaga, reishi, maitake, shiitake, those are fully legal. And you'll learn when you watch the Fantastic Fungi documentary that essentially mushrooms are so damn good for us. We all should be eating mushrooms all the time. They say like 45, I think it's like if you eat a certain kind of mushroom every single day, you have a 45% chance of having less cancer. It's like mushrooms are it. And then with psilocybin mushrooms, at least all my own experiences, I found, because I've had a life coach, I've been doing the work, meditation, breath work,
hmm
working on myself, trying to develop, who I am. And the psilocybin, especially with the microdosing, what it did for me is it built my courage. And what it did for me, especially when I opened up and did larger trips, was it showed me some shit about myself, some
Hmm.
real dark shit. And sometimes what I think happens is I think that people take these substances thinking that they're recreational drugs because that's how they've been labeled, when in fact they are ancient indigenous spiritual tools. And they can
Okay.
take you to another portal and to another place, and they can show you some things that you may not want to see. It can tell you
Right.
some things you may not want to hear, but that is what mushrooms do. They heal us. And I really think that there's something to the fact that all of these pharmaceuticals, they're created to be re-administered every 12 hours.
Right.
They are created for profit. And it's not to say that they're all bad. I support people taking medication 100%. You need to do whatever it is going to be for
Hmm.
you and for your life. But the reality is just like that broken arm, we all have the power within ourselves to heal ourselves, even our minds. And I really believe the research is going to show that psilocybin specifically, it resets the body. It works better with functional mushrooms attached, and it really moves throughout the cells in the body and really creates a equilibrium inside the body, very similarly to cannabinoids and
Hmm.
the endocannabinoid system. But it's really just going to take some time. But you really can tap into some incredible creativity with microdosing.
Oh,
I think it will be interesting because the coding and spreadsheets, and I like get crazy with the writing. Like I microdose LSD and I can write for like 8 straight hours, and it's like the best writing. I think for me, I'm very passionate about LSD specifically because it's so stigmatized and it's so shocking to people. They say, "You do what?" Because I always say maybe she's born with it, maybe it's LSD. And
yeah.
what that molecule brings
Which came
me,
first?
yeah, well, it's probably the LSD.
Yeah.
But the molecule brings me this sense of joy and connection to the universe. I think that's another thing that psychedelics are going to bring. And I think is interesting about the community you're building with the incubator is like,
Hmm.
we live in this digital world where we're all very disconnected, even though we're connected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But they're
Right.
not real connections. They're even the people we like worship, these influencers, like they're the worst. Like they're not happy. I've been seeing so many TikToks. It must be the side of TikTok I'm on, and it's hot girl summer, hot girl summer. It's gonna be a hot girl summer. And yesterday I was like, I just lived through a pandemic. I don't know if it's going to be a hot girl summer for me. And these people, I look at them and I'm like, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are
Hmm.
you in your passion? And it's hard when people are just selling and selling and selling, and everyone's, trying to get ahead to say, maybe we all need to go on a journey and look inside and do some inner work.
I,
But I
yeah.
think that's where TikTok just said, this is what you're talking about now, and this is where you're going. And I just happen to be there personally. When COVID hit, I hadn't taken time off in forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me to have that time and to say, well, looks like today I'm tripping on some mushrooms, and I'm gonna cry for 5 hours, and I'm gonna process some shit that happened to me in my childhood. Like, it was unexpected, but little by little, I saw just such a mass improvement in my mental health and in my life and my work, my business. And I think that psychedelics do have that power. I just want people to know they are powerful
Mhm.
tools. They're not for everyone. And this is
Right.
not weed. We have to be very careful, and we have to be grown-ups.
Hmm.
And we have to remember that humans already fucked psychedelics. Like, we already screwed them up because of what happened in the 60s and the 70s. So I think it's really important that our generations especially understand the brevity of these molecules, and that they
Hmm.
can absolutely create amazing creativity. They can do a lot for your body and for your mind, but you have to do them in the right way. And maybe a music festival, like maybe
Right.
Coachella, maybe
And
a little bit. But
I think the fact, like, they're so introspective, these drugs, and like they cause you mentioned it, like I'm gonna do shrooms and like cry and think through some of my whatever my childhood things. But I think like having this vulnerability and like having this point of where you can really introspect and just think like take a different view, because we're living in our day to day, right? And like me personally, I'm going. Like personally, I like doing like smoking some weed or having, some of these gummies, product placement. But why is the same reason for like the LSD and kind of doing these mushrooms and stuff. It's to take a step back and like disconnect a little bit and really just think through like what this week, maybe I was an asshole. Maybe I should have done that. And like, being vulnerable for a little bit.
yeah, I think that there's so many things that stop people from that. I think capitalism is the number one thing, and I think that it the pressure that all young people face right now is
Oh yeah.
it's unbelievable. I see why everyone is drawn to crypto, why everyone is drawn to wanting passive incomes, is because we're all like, wait, so we have to basically like kill ourselves working in order to have the lifestyle we all want.
Right.
What? And then the technology, I mean, I got I'm gonna age myself, but I got a computer when I was 6. I grew up with MySpace and Friendster and all the old school internet stuff, and I can't imagine growing up in today's world with all the technology and all the screen time. I mean, do you get eye twitches? I get eye twitches from the
Well,
screen. I'm like,
these are blue light. Like I try and wear
oh,
blue
okay.
light 24/7. Because I'm writing code during the day. I'm on TikTok. Like and then after this, I'm going on a walk outside. I might lay in the grass for a little bit. Like,
Well, that's important. All of that is really important. I think it's like we don't go outside enough. We don't go into nature enough. We don't feel the grass under our feet. We don't feel the connection of each other. Like we're all like liking and interacting in this really digital way, but it's not that vulnerability that you're talking about. And I think that that's just another side to life that people are very terrified of. But it's
mhm.
it's really the key. Like it's the
Right.
key
Yeah.
to
Like
really being
you're
happy.
I'm like a lot of people be like, I don't like smoking weed because it makes me paranoid. And I'm like, that's a feature, not a bug. Like your paranoia is probably driven by another thing that like maybe it's worth looking at that. Maybe it's worth thinking that through. Like, maybe that and me personally, like I get that. Like I when I, get baked, whatever, I can't go to sleep. Like it doesn't make me, it actually keeps me up, and I like it because I get to think through these things and be really get that moment of vulnerability.
Everyone is different. I think that there is a lot of bad experiences with cannabis, specifically in the paranoia because of the war on drugs. Because like you
Right.
used to smoke weed and be scared that you were going to go to jail for smoking weed. I think that that is a huge part of it that no one wants to talk about. Is like that stigma, that energy, that belief, it affects your experience with it. And I think that when we rebrand cannabis as this wellness tool, as this performance enhancer, you can see
Hmm.
your experience changing. But I think at the end of the day, it's like, it's really just about spreading the message to people that there are other ways that you can really be connected, that you can really be vulnerable, that you can really be in community. I think that all these things are like so important and no one is talking about them. And it's really, I guess my thing with the Hot Girl Summer too is like everyone's just gonna go back to like balls to the walls, everything, drinking and clubs and vacations. And I mean, I'm going on vacation too, but at a certain
Mexico.
point, I think it's about people really understanding that if you are disconnected with yourself,
Hmm.
it's just not gonna end well. And being disconnected, I will say I was incredibly successful. I had everything I ever wanted. I was in magazines, I was at Fashion Week, and I looked around my life and I thought, what the fuck? This
Right.
isn't good. I'm not happy. And I
Hmm.
had to like swallow that pill. And there's a lot of young people I think who think that becoming successful or getting more money is going to fix it for them, because I thought that. And then I got everything I ever wanted and I was still kind of broken. And I think that that is really important for people to know, that you can have all the money in the world, you can have no money. None of that really does matter. And really getting in touch with yourself and getting this shit taken care of and right is actually how you're going to be successful. It's just
Right.
not enough people are talking about it in the business space, in the entrepreneur space, because no one wants to seem soft. But you're
Well,
actually the hardest motherfucker
yeah.
around when you are in touch with that side of yourself.
Well, you
So
can't sell that too. You know, you can sell having people scroll on TikTok or scroll on Instagram, but like telling somebody to like maybe go outside, take your socks off, and like just feel the grass. You know, like we're talking about psychedelics, weed, and like feeling the grass with your feet, but I really do think it makes a difference. And
it
like,
does. And I think that there's something great about changing your consciousness. I think that people are uncomfortable with it. I think that's why CBD has become so popular, is because people are terrified of changing their consciousness. That's what psychoactivity is. It's literally changing your consciousness. But I think the only way, into the future, especially with virtual and augmented reality coming into play, especially with these types of apps that we spend so much time on, we have
right,
to have this other conversation. It's like not every time, but almost every time when I'm on live, after I'm ending my live, I say, get off the phone, get off the app, go outside, sit in the sun, and
I might have to. I
say
might have to
something you're
take that from.
grateful for. It's so hard, and I've just been on social media for so long. I know the negative side to it, and the other side of it is, like, even for the creators and the influencers, the bigger you get, the more pressure there is, and the more pressure there is to continue to engage people. And that is another vicious cycle. And unfortunately, we're all like sitting around worshiping people who just aren't good role models and who aren't really going to help people live better, happier, healthier lives.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's shameless plug here, but that's what the Incubator Discord, and like it has to be a Discord, but just because that's how the internet works. But like, that's what it is. That's what it's about, and it's just like enough
No,
of this
that's
other
why I was
stuff.
drawn to your content. That's why I think what you're doing is amazing. And I reached out to you is because I thought you're one of the only ones who were actually trying to build a community and
Hmm.
who was actually trying to create a space where people learned, people supported each other. And I think that it's really the future. And it's something that I wish existed when I was, on my journey. And I think
Hmm.
that the future is community, in a
Right.
sense. Like, the future is decentralized, but it's also
Also,
community.
community. Yeah,
And I
agree.
think that in this digital world, like, finding real connections and being able to support people and help people grow and help people live their best lives. Obviously, financial freedom is a part of that. That
Right.
anyone who says more money doesn't make you happier, they're right. Like, money doesn't buy happiness, but it buys literally almost everything you need to be happy.
Right.
So I hate when people say that. I'm like, oh gosh. But I think that the Incubator is huge. I hope that the people who are watching that are my followers go and follow you and join the Incubator. I'll be in there. And I think
Hmm.
that I'll be learning about crypto. And then I think that it's really cool that there's going to be other channels, real estate,
Yeah.
e-commerce. You can help out in the e-commerce channel.
We we might.
Um,
Yeah, we might need because yeah, the goal of it is like I never pretend like I know everything. I don't know even five. I think maybe 5% of the crypto world, which is like my specialty. Like there's so much you can learn from
I don't know
everybody.
any either. The smartest people are the ones who say, I don't know anything. I say every day, I'm like, I have no clue. I don't know. And
Like
I tell my team, I say, I'm just making shit up, right? Like, I'm just
yeah, like
guessing.
we're just making it up right now. Like as you
Yeah.
go, and like the idea is everyone's making it up, and like if you have a community that's like trying to make it up together, but like somebody knows something more than you do, always, like no matter what, like whether it's in crypto, whether it's in e-commerce, like you're not the expert because there's somebody else who's and together you can kind of just incubate and hatch eventually,
Also,
theoretically.
the experience, you know, I think people bringing their real experiences and sharing
Mhm.
those with people and saying, well, I did this, or this is how you do this. I think that it's so important, and I think the incubator is going to be huge. I mean, who knows, what if one day the incubator is like a conference and it's like a whole
That's
huge thing, and like we're all
we're
there and speaking and together, and like it could literally be anything that you want it to be. I think that's what's so cool, and why
mhm.
I'm happy to support it. And I'm gonna, but the I love the good vibes.
Well, that's it. If you're not going to have good vibes, don't enter.
If
Respectfully,
I laugh every time because I'm like, I need a recording of that just to play before every room I walk into. If you're
right.
not bringing good vibes, don't. We don't
Just
want it.
don't respectively though, just as respectively as possible. Like, just don't
Yeah.
come in. But this is honestly, this is the first time that I've been able to interview somebody, and like this has been one of my goals. Like, I've always wanted to like like this is awesome for me, and I want to thank you for coming on. Like, you took a risk here, coming on to join, and I
There
appreciate
was
that.
no risk. I knew you were going to be great,
Right.
young interviewer. I knew that you were going to ask the hard questions, and I was happy to come on and just share some morsels. So thanks for
So
having me.
how so how can everybody here support the Kush Queen? What can they do?
So they can follow me on TikTok, obviously the Liv Alexander on IG too. And then if you want to check out the products, we're at kushqueen.shop. And for the people who are here listening, you could use the code TTFAM, and
TT.
that'll TTFAM, and you'll get a big discount at checkout. And also just go out there and spread the good word of the Kush Queen.
Yeah. So Kush Queen like, if you are joining now, like, we've spoken for like over an hour. I don't even know how long it's been. I need to get a quesadilla and ground a little bit. But Kush Queen started by just, people believing in the product and kind of and this community. And like, so any way you can go support Kush Queen, I send them there. I'll send it in the incubator Discord. Like, this was awesome. We
Thank
talked about
you.
everything here.
Yeah, we did. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to see you interview other people. And I'll see you on the interwebs.
Yeah, I'll see you on the interwebs. And for everyone who is here, we had a lot of friends of the live. We had a lot of incubators in this interview, and you guys were electric in the chat. I was reading them. I know I wasn't reacting, but I was looking at them. And thank you guys for the support and kind of showing the good energy. So I do appreciate everyone who's watching. And thank you for that.
All right. Well, don't get too high tonight, okay?
No, and for those of you wondering, I will be having the fresh lemon gummies. I thought they were just like normal CBD things, so I took one, and then my roommate was like, "Bro, you got to take more than that." So then I took three, and then I was, I was definitely feeling good. So I will be having probably two.
I always
But
say start low and go slow. So
yeah.
thanks again, everyone, for hanging out, and I'll see you guys around. So
Yes,
bye.
thank you. And buy Bitcoin,
Obviously.
obviously.